Why doesn't God force you to believe? If God forced you to believe, that belief would not be yours. It would be a reflex born of fear, a surrender to power, a nod without a heart. God does not need that kind of belief. You once hoped deeply. So deeply that you poured yourself into prayer. So deeply that every stretch of silence made you wonder, am I speaking to emptiness? You didn't stop believing because you were proud. You stopped because you were tired. Tired of waiting. Tired of calling. Tired of loving without hearing an answer. And God did not hold you back. Not because he did not see. Not because he did not ache. But because if he held you by force, he would destroy the most precious thing within you, your freedom to love or not to love. If God appeared too clearly, you would no longer be yourself. You would believe because you dared not doubt. Believe because there was no way out. Believe out of fear of being wrong, not out of longing. That is not faith. That is a prison wearing a sacred name. God would rather be doubted than be believed by someone who is no longer themselves. He would rather stand outside the door than enter your heart by coercion. There are times you think God's silence means absence. But sometimes, silence is the only way he does not violate you. Because if God answered every prayer, you would believe the answers. Not him. If God intervened every time you were in pain, you would become dependent. Not whole. God does not want you to stay because you fear losing him. He wants you to stay because you truly choose him. You once walked away in silence. No one blamed you. Not even God. Because staying without belief, staying out of habit, staying out of fear of judgment, is how faith dies from the inside. God would rather let you go far. So far you think you have lost him. So that if one day you return, it is because you can no longer pretend to be strong. Not for heaven. Not out of fear of punishment. Not because anyone demands it. Only because you are tired. And need to be loved without proving anything. And in that moment, when you no longer ask, is God real? But only breathe out, if you are still there. God has already been there. For a very long time. God does not force you to believe. Not because he is weak, but because he respects you more than he needs to be believed. Because real love always leaves a door open. And a heart that returns freely will love more deeply than any miracle ever witnessed.